878895. All right. Thank you, Robin. 16 minutes after 11 o'clock. Have you voted? You have to go vote. Don't forget today, right?
I know.
We voted early.
Yeah, we did.
John Tesh waited till today, right? Is it a thing? People like to wait for the actual day? Or what do you think it is, Robin?
I think so, too, because it feels more patriotic that way. But if you got a work schedule like ours, we need to do it early. That's why I appreciate it.
Hey, John Tesh is on the air right now. John is coming to our area. He'll be performing at the Sharon down in the Villages, and you and I are going to be there at the 5 o'clock show. Looking forward to bringing him his jaw harp that we promised him 2 years ago.
I know.
Hey, John, how you doing?
I'm fine. I didn't mean to wait until the last minute to vote. Sorry,
you didn't?
Late. I just sort of wait for everything. You know, it's like I'm writing a book right now, right? And so I wait until the last minute to write the whole thing. It's been like this. But I have to tell you, as a reporter, I can report to you that this is the heaviest midterm turnout that I've seen personally.
Is that right?
Yeah, like the line I was in was around the block, which is why the timing was sort of weird this morning.
Hey, I have a question for you. As an entertainer, especially a well-known entertainer, I've often admired those in your business who refrain from telling reporters anything political in nature. Like Johnny Carson refrained from it, Elvis Presley refrained from it. But nowadays it seems like everybody wants to take a side, and I always feel like you're hurting yourself. Like Seinfeld, he never talks. You'll never hear him say who he would vote for.
Yeah, it's gosh, I don't know how I feel about that. I mean, I think if I think the people who are mean on Twitter, you know, they're doing that. Like I'm a huge Stephen King fan, right? But he's just sort of jumped into the middle of it, and I don't like that. I mean, I prefer him to be the guy that I wanted him to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just don't get involved. But it's, hey, you know, there's some real division in the country right now, and the people feel like it's their obligation to use their platform, and I get it. I just don't get the mean part of it, but I absolutely, you know, when you're talking about something as you know, as serious, right, as pro-life or pro-choice, I absolutely understand when somebody takes a position there and takes it publicly. But if it's just like, hey, we hate Hillary, oh, we hate Trump, whatever, it just
absolutely, yeah, I'm on the same page you are with that stuff. Yeah, that's the part of it that I really don't like. And in what Robin and I do with talk radio, it's supposed to be an opinionated thing, you know. So you have to, and everybody already knows where we stand. But I often wondered from your perspective, like somebody in real showbiz, like Robin and it's not real showbiz.
Yeah, you are. But I have to tell you, you know, and what happened to me with when I got onto Entertainment Tonight back in 1986, it was almost like somebody did an Etch-a-Sketch shake, you know, on my career, because all of a sudden 23 million people were seeing me and Mary Hart every night do this. That's what I did, right? That's where my career started for a lot of people. But I spent, before that, I spent like 15 years in local news and network and local news and sports. So I was a reporter. I was an investigative reporter. I was a street reporter in New York City, and I was in the same building as Cronkite and Dan Rather and you know, and all of those guys, David Dyer, and all of the, you know, the top reporters. And in the newsroom with me was, you know, John Stossel and Meredith Vieira and Brian Williams and Bill O'Reilly and all those guys in the local newsroom. And it was a whole different. We had a list of rules. You could never have referred to the president as Obama or Trump. It was Mr. or the president or President.
Oh,
Trump,
really?
like that. There was a whole style thing, you know, and there were things you could not have an opinion. You never heard Cronkite have an opinion.
No,
until maybe, you know, the Vietnam War. You know, he that was a classic where he crossed the line, a line that he had established for himself. And remember, they used Eric Severide to do the commentary. This was way back in the day, but it's really changed where you know, the difference between CNN and Fox is it's amazing. There's for each side, you know.
It really is, and I think I'm on with you as far as I'm not really sure how I feel about it. I guess in a way, like it's in talk radio all the time though, so I'm kind of immersed in it. Although Robin and I really don't engage in it a whole lot. We really try to be fair, especially when it comes to the party politics. I just refuse to say that if you are a D or an R, that you must be good or bad. There's no way that I believe there's across the board some way of defining. You know, it just doesn't even make sense.
I totally get it, and my wife and I and a lot of our friends, we vote with what's known as a biblical worldview. And so sometimes that can be what the Democrats believe in. Sometimes it can be what the Republicans or independents, and so we don't vote along party lines. We've never done it.
No, absolutely. I don't either. But I'll tell you what, I recently made a policy not to accept interview invitations, I guess, from publicists who represent authors that have a political agenda. I'm okay with local people running for office. I'm okay with them coming in, but I'm telling you, John, sometimes they don't want me to get a word in. They just want to say their spiel, and that's it. You know?
Yeah. Listen, I've sat not on the radio, but definitely on television. I used to do a show called Newsmakers, and where I interviewed Ed Koch and Abe Beam, the mayors of New York City and stuff. And they really they've been schooled to do this stuff. It really is a filibuster, and people like, it's funny because people like Laura Ingraham. And even the guys over on CNN, they won't have it anymore. They'll just stop. They'll just hit the mute button on the on the microphone.
Yeah. And then it makes you look rude, or it would make me look rude.
It does.
Yeah, it
does.
Wow.
It does. Wow. Yeah.
Do you know?
Hey, listen. The toughest interview I ever did was the very first interview I did with for Entertainment Tonight. It was I've been interviewing Jimmy Connors and Franz Klammer, and downhill skiers and Bernard, the winner of the Tour de France, all these big heavyweights. And my first interview was Pee Wee Herman.
Oh, really?
Oh my!
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And I couldn't. But the problem is, I wanted to interview Paul Rubens too, who's the real person, right?
Right, sure.
And so I'm saying, well, Paul, can you tell me how you got started with this character? He said, no, I'm TV. I'm not Paul.
Oh, that's crazy. Well, I think the same thing with who's the actor, Robin, that does? Oh my gosh, we all know him and love him. What's this guy's name? Who does more cowbell? Who's the more cowbell guy?
Oh, sure, Will Ferrell.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Yeah.
I very rarely have seen Will Ferrell on a talk show where I feel like I'm really seeing the real guy.
Right.
But on let's see, the thing Seinfeld does, comedians in cars getting coffee. I think you see the real Will Ferrell in that. Yeah. I think so.
Yeah, because he probably knew that Jerry wouldn't. By the way, the Jerry Seinfeld documentary is a great piece to watch. You get a chance to see his whole process. We actually lived on the same street in 1976 at West 81st Street on the west side of Manhattan, and I used to watch him take the bus across town to go to Catch a Rising Star and all the other comedy stores. But watching him live is pretty amazing. And he still works just as hard as he has, over the years.
Yeah, we were watching an Adam Sandler thing the other night, and while it was good, I said to Robin, I think Jerry Seinfeld puts something else into it that most stand-ups don't do. I don't know. Have you ever thought about, has that ever been attractive to you as far as an entertainer to do that kind of thing?
To do which kind of thing?
Stand-up comic.
Oh, you know what? You'll actually see some of that in the show when we're at the Villages, where I'm not a stand-up comedian, but there's really sort of goofy, funny stuff that's happened to me in my life, and so that's my only opportunity to do that. But yeah, I have a special respect for those people. Because of my job at Entertainment Tonight, I've interviewed, Robin Williams and and all these guys, all the way down, even some of the older comedians and Carson and all those guys, and they really have a process. A lot of people just think that they're funny and they walk up on stage, but the the really, really funny ones. Look at Sebastian Maniscalco now, the Italian comedian who is he's playing Radio City Music Hall.
Oh wow!
And played in Madison Square Garden, places like that. They really have a process. They just write all the time, and that was Seinfeld. Seinfeld had a failed show. He had it was Seinfeld Chronicles. and it just didn't do well, and they took it off the air and started over. If you want to see something really funny, as a master interviewer that you are, is Google Jerry Seinfeld plus Larry King. Larry always prided himself. He always prided himself on not doing any preparation before doing an interview because I want to be inquisitive.
Right.
I don't want a bunch of material. Right. Well, it bit him right on the butt because Jerry just took him apart because Larry came after him with like, so your show got canceled? He said, wait, what are you talking about?
I remember that. Now, wait a minute, John. I saw that, and I believe that was real. But later on, you can find this someplace too. Jerry Seinfeld says that was set up. Did you ever hear him?
I don't believe it.
I don't either.
I don't believe it.
I don't either.
I don't believe it.
But
Jerry's an actor, right? But Larry is not. And I think the reason Jerry may have said that is because Jerry came off as a lot tough
to save face, maybe just.
Yeah, so maybe he said that Larry was in on it. But it's brilliant. I bet anything. I bet my lottery tickets that was real.
Me too. I'm with you on that one. And I thought, well, maybe he's just doing that to be nice to Larry King because it sounds like, he shouldn't have asked it that way, or like you say, maybe he was just trying to cover up being, I don't know, a little bit uncomfortably tough. Because like when the guy who played Kramer had those racial, what do you say when somebody says a bad word?
Epithets, yeah.
Yeah, he was not defending him. And was trying to tell the audience, stop laughing at this. It's not funny. Do you remember that interview by chance?
Yeah, Michael.
I don't remember the interview now.
Yeah. So
yeah,
I remember seeing the video of Kramer though, and I felt really bad for him because I could see what he was trying to do. And he just didn't have unfortunately, he just didn't have the skills that at the time that Jerry had. And so when he'd stumbled and said something horrible, he tried to sort of do the David Letterman thing, right? Well, David never do that, but sort of keep repeating it over and over again,
right?
And it just didn't work.
And that's the thing Don Rickles would have done, and everybody forgave him. Don Rickles did that all the time, and people just it's just Don Rickles. It's funny, right?
Oh man, yeah, exactly. But people expect it. It's like the Megyn Kelly thing. Did we talk about that the last time?
I think so, a little bit, yeah.
Just the thing about, that's why I'm not on television anymore, man. It's like, okay, that was a big mistake that she made. But there's just no grace anymore. It's like, you made a big mistake. And even though you apologize, you're done,
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah, I know.
Crazy.
And meanwhile, there was, and I don't know if we mentioned this last time, there was an Eddie Murphy bit on Saturday Night Live years ago where he dressed up like a white guy. Remember this?
I do.
Yeah. It's context, and a lot of people were. I'm not defending her at all, but a lot of people were laying it wait for Megyn Kelly because, so some people lost their jobs because of her, and they paid her a whole bunch of money, and so they call it in Australia. They call it the tall poppy syndrome. It's really interesting, where it's like you wait for the poppies to grow and grow and grow, and then you just cut them off at the roots. Yeah, that's what they're
that's funny.
Oh yes, it's the tall poppy syndrome. And I was doing an interview. And the guy goes, have you been subject at all to the tall poppy syndrome?
What?
And I said, no, I don't think so. He said, it'll happen to you eventually. And I'm like, oh, gosh, thanks so much.
So we will see you. I think we'll get one more interview scheduled with you, but we will see you at the Sharon. Rob and I are scheduled to be there in the audience on the 5th. No, at 5 o'clock.
On the 16th at the 5 o'clock show.
Yeah.
And you're
there was a 5 in there somewhere. I know. I'm going to go up at 5 on the 15th. I don't know.
Well, you did a really great job posting your event. We've shared that on the WOCA Facebook page, and we had a lot of takers when we started giving away the first pair of tickets this morning. So you are a very popular fellow, John.
That's awesome. Well, don't give them all away. I have grandkids to feed.
Oh, there you
go. John, thank you so much for being on the air with us, and I'm glad you voted. I texted you while you were voting. I said, are you stuck voting? But I don't know if you respond to your text messages.
Instagram.
Well, I got to turn it off because you're in a polling area.
Oh, that's what happened.
Being influenced. Yeah. Don't forget to vote for Hillary. No, wait, Hillary's not. Never mind. Don't do that. All right, I'll see you guys.
All right, thank you, John. All right, we'll take a little break. We'll be right back. Here is your 1-minute news brief. Today is Election Day. Polls in Marion County will be open until 7 p.m. Marion County has 243,088 registered voters.